My VIP cohort ready to lend an ear. I have something very special for you today. I am going to show you this is my book. Don't immerse yourself in that environment. And what we're going to go into today is something that's very near and dear to me. It's going to be about philosophy and power. The two I'm going to mainly highlight is Stoicism and Machiavellianism. Why would I want to go after these two type of things and say that they're important in living a greater life? You can't have one without the other. Because power resides in everything that we do. Every action, words said and unsaid, it all resides around necessity, deadlines, constraints. And in those things, it gives us the look at our mortality. And it gives us purpose to act today when all other things say we could just relax. And it's not to disrespect upon relaxing, because points where you relax and things just start flowing together. Merely, we have to look at living an upright life too. And that's where I brought in Stoicism. Stoicism allows one to look at the indifferences and not just be fully on the power train. It allows you to deboard the train and start looking things in a different lens. And when you can alternate between these lenses, you now have a fuller life that can now direct in something that you want to go. And it's not so much of love for it, but by how it is working throughout our whole society, that one must come to it. And then when you find the words that you've been missing for your entire life, it just starts connecting. And that's where I would say this book has been that connector for me. When I was sitting at work and I didn't know that tomorrow would be my last, something could happen today where I'm not in control of it. It made me realize that I have to leave something behind. Something that is physical, that someone can hold, and know that what I was thinking was not just some gibberish, but something that can have impact. And it's not going to please everybody. There's always going to be criticism. Yet in that criticism, you have to look for the right feedback and then keep improving. But don't let just criticism hamper your ability to start, because greatness is on the other side of just starting. There will always be someone that will find a fault in you. But knowing yourself and always doing your best, and knowing that nothing is guaranteed in this world, changes that. And I will be telling you this book will be coming out soon. I'm in the last iterations, making sure everything's good. I said that prior, but this time it's gotten extremely well. My writing style has improved. Everything that I've done on the revisions is coming together, and it's looking very, how would I say? Very professional, and a lot of easier ways to transition if you're skimming. And it just has that ability to change how to go after a situation. Because the first chapter I start this off in, I say don't stay in the same place. And that coincides with Machiavellian Stoicism by we can't be living in a world under a rock. The world will keep revolving, and we have to make a choice whether we go into the society, our jobs, our parenthood, whatever decision or outcome that we have. And some duties that reside in that are a choice, and some are not. But the choice of how we interact in our internal mind is always there. So, let's begin. One line that begins this off. Do not suffer or worry about the externals. Accept, embrace, and let go. Do not be a puppet or slave to habit. And this is the beginning of the chapter for Stoicism and Machiavellianism. Why is that? Why not suffer on the externals? Accept, embrace, and let go. Do not be a puppet or a slave to habit. Merely, we must be self-recognizing of our own nature. If we do not know our own nature, how can we ask one to change? You can't. And in my first chapter, I said Stoicism was the best defense and Machiavellianism the best offense. Firstly, why Stoicism is the best defense? It's like a shield. It comforts you in the ability if you lose control, because it gets you in a state where everything else is removed and you're only with yourself. Even if it is flawed, it's still your own self in thinking. Unless there's cybernetics that change that, but at this time, no. It's your internal world of choice. And then the secondary is Machiavellianism is the best offense. Machiavelli proves it by necessity. And necessity, deadlines, constraints, all these things, making sure that you have a standing army of your own, patriotism. And one may be saying, why patriotism with Machiavellianism? Patriotism is holding your own force, creating your own army, not mercenaries. There was one in the chapter with the prince. And the same resides here. You must build your armaments for war. Same way here. And when you combine these two together, you get the best outcomes of both worlds. You should not just reside in one world. You should have the ability to change the worlds depending on the nature of the situation. And environments change. They are just not constant. There are things that do remain constant in the change, but we must always recognize that we are in this flow. And go away from good or bad decisions. Make the best decision possible with the information at hand. As crazy as it sounds. So, if we have shame, guilt, anger, and all these things, do you think we will be the best in these worlds? If we do not have a calm demeanor, and it's not to say that you have like no war cry or like loud victory voice. This means you're just vindictive, you're not thinking, you're just bashing out at things. Do you think these ideals, these philosophies, resonate if you don't have the ability to conquer these evil natures of ourselves? At least temper them, keep them to the leash, so they do not just run wild and rampant? Think about that. We are creatures of habit. And what we feed ourselves is what we become. And if we feed ourselves both the ideas of power and of indifference with the virtues of Stoicism, and that would be wisdom. Wisdom is experience. Courage, pretty much the ability to act in spite of fear. Temperance, knowing not to have too much and overindulge. And justice. And justice is not of man's doing, but of the higher power. And I would say the higher power is in with nature. If we observe nature, we start to see how things work. And if our rulings are in accordance with nature, it does help in the regard of justice and the side that you decide to be on. And Machiavelli, paired with Stoicism, is just another level entirely. Because now we have necessity. We do not have the ability to negate a duty. We are now in the resolve of power. And the power that we exercise to get the results that are needed. And people are not fair. Stoicism won't tell as much into this, but fairness is nothing. And when there's nothing, you can either be indifferent or you can act. Stoics have parts where they act in their own regards, but Machiavelli had a different way of viewing it. We must act in the regards of attaining something that must be the end. And it sounds sickening, but it's true. If you need to buy a house, you need to go find a higher paying job to have the house and have a reserve. And that's why I live by a philosophy of sales, savings, and securities. They can't have just save money. You have to have the ability to go on the attack and make more funds available. You have to have a reserve to offset if the sales are not doing well, and securities to grow the overall compass. The compass in the regard of how much storage of wealth that you got. Those things enhance in the attacking part. And Stoicism just allows you to be strategically patient and also tactfully impatient. Meaning, you must go after the strategy with patience, because you're not going to just learn 7 highly effective habits of people just instantaneously. You just open one chapter and just like, yep, I know what now. You can skim, you can learn infographics, and it increases the learning curve. But it needs time to marinate in your own brain and allow it to see which parts resonate with you deeply, and then start crafting something of your own. And we have to combat the consumerism with the creative side, producer, within us. The more that we start producing, the more that our consumerism might actually temper itself out. But if we only have consumerism but no producing, we start looking at the line in a disassociation with what our intent is. So, live in that regard. So, you see this book and wonder, when can you get your hands on this? I am looking to release it within the coming months. No date has been set because I'm just making sure on the last parts, but I have this book and I reread it when I'm in like a tough, hard spot. And it starts teaching me over again. I've put in more disclaimers, more ways of legally auditing it so it's less impactful or hurtful. But there's still parts in here that you will criticize me on. And that's A-okay. This is my first book in coming, and I want to make other books that are more tactile. This is just one book that was my call to action, my beginnings, and to teach me how to become a writer and a creator and automation and all these great things. And I want to increase my scope of influence in that regard. So I'll leave you with that, my VIP cohort. Deuces.